one, and welcome back to the baseline. Today's gonna be different. As you know, we've done top 10 greatest. We've done catcher, first base, and second baseman. Today we're gonna do shortstops, but a little bit different. We're gonna have debate, as I am joined here by my two friends, Al and Craig. And guys, you ready to talk some shortstops?
Heck yes. This is very exciting. Thank you for bringing us in on this. I love doing the research on it. All my baseball nerdum as a child and through my adulthood got to come out in this exercise, so this is going to be a lot of fun.
I totally agree. I am psyched and I'm ready. We've been doing a lot of football and we haven't touched on baseball in a little bit, so I'm glad to get back on really getting into some more baseball, especially with the current season where everything is and where they're headed and the playoffs and all that. So, football obviously is always going to be around, but right now, baseball is my main focus because it's coming down to it. And this is just part of it. This is pretty cool. I'm really excited for it.
All right, that is awesome to hear, guys. And I mean, I guess I'll start if you guys don't mind. But we're gonna go obviously list 10 all the way to number one.
Yep.
And my top 10. I know it's weird to say. Now a Hall of Famer, probably one of the most underrated guys in the shortstop position. But I had to go with him. For my number 10, I had Nomar Garcia Parra.
Oh, I love it.
All right.
Um,
I like the choice. I like it.
yeah, just because I feel like he's very underrated. Um, I looked at his numbers. I mean, they're not terrible, but he played more. Probably, definitely a Hall of Famer. But he had a career batting average of 313, 229 home runs, and he finished just short of 1,000. He had 936 career RBIs. While his time obviously known as a Boston Red Sox. And this is actually something interesting that I actually looked up. But he won the batting title, and he was the first right-hander at that time since Joe DiMaggio, who ended up winning it in 1939 and 1940.
Wow.
Really? All the other
Wow.
batting
Yeah,
champions every year were left-handers?
yeah. So according to this, he actually ended up winning the batting title in '98 or '99, sorry, in 2000, and that at that time the first right-handed batter to win it since DiMaggio in '39 and '40.
That's crazy. What a great stat.
Wow, wow. That's crazy. That
Yeah,
that is a crazy stat.
yeah. I mean, like I said, no more doesn't get. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves, especially since he left Boston. We all know the injuries really hurt him very bad. But I still think if he it wasn't for the injuries, he's got to be up there at least the time that he played. I know you had uh, probably all on our list Jeter, at the time A Rod, uh, probably Edgar Renteria is a name from a blast from the past. But I think he gets lost in the shuffle so much because of the injuries.
You want to go first, Craig?
Yeah, I totally agree about the getting lost in the shuffle and the injuries. He was somebody I definitely considered. He did not make my list, but it was definitely somebody I seriously considered. And as I'm looking at it now, I really don't have anybody who has played recently. I mean, I know he's not hasn't been that recent, but I'm just glancing at my list now. It's all guys who are retired. I don't have one active player, and not even one active player in the last like 5 to 10 years almost. But anyway, I would agree that he can be number 10. I definitely considered him.
Yeah, he's a fascinating guy. Like, he did not make my list either, but I did consider him. I made a list of, it ended up being, I think, 22 shortstops that I had to whittle down to 10. And he was on my list of 22 easily. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
And then the injuries are the reason he didn't make the list. And that's it. Because if he had through 2003, he was on pace for one of the best careers of any shortstop was ever going to have. And then from that point on, he was still good, but he was not. There were a lot of missed seasons and missed half seasons, and just a bunch of tough stuff from that point forward. But yeah, you could argue his first one, two, three, four, five, six, 7 seasons were as good as anybody's first 7 seasons that's ever played baseball.
Yep, it was right up there.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, he's kind of in that. Oh no! Now you know me with names. Craig, help me out. Who was the old Chicago Bears running back that didn't play very long? The one that the movie was on with.
Gale Sayers.
He's a Gale Sayers. You know what I'm saying? Does that make
Yep.
sense?
Yeah, Gale Sayers was awesome in a total flameout, and then the injury, and that was it.
Yep. The only difference, I guess, would be that Nomar hung on for a little while,
Yeah,
and people
Gale
got
Sayers ended immediately.
yes, and maybe that's part of why he doesn't make these lists all the time is because people remember the bad last few years that were just injury prone and not playing and just sad. You know what I mean? But
Yep.
whew, it was so good early on. I'm not going to argue with you for having him on your list at all, Jordan.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was hard, but I definitely had to put him just because, like I said, his years with Boston, very phenomenal. But he gets so much lost into that shuffle. It's ridiculous of how no one talks about him that much.
I
Fair. That is
agree.
fair.
Al, do you want to go with your number 10 or should I?
You want to go right ahead, man? You go right ahead.
All right, real quick, I do want to mention that I had two guys that did not make the list that I wanted to mention as like honorable mentions before I do my number 10.
Love it.
And they are
Yeah.
names from the way, way, way back. Pop Lloyd, who was a Negro player,
Yep.
a
Hmm.
Negro League player, with a career 349 average.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
insane.
Nice.
And Archie Vaughn, with a 78 war, which is really high. And then he also lost 3 years because of the war. He was in the war, and he unbelievable career, all stars, everything you would want, and just he lost his prime 3 years because of the war. I just wanted to mention them. I considered them, but they did not make my list. But I just wanted to bring some attention to them. But my number 10 itself is Ozzie Smith.
Aha.
And the reason why
Wow.
is
Okay.
he's not a big offensive guy, but he's the best defensive shortstop in history. And I don't, I mean, some people I guess could debate it, but I think it's not really debatable. He was called the Wizard of Oz for a reason, and defense matters. And if we're doing a shortstop list, a position that really needs good defense, and if he was the best ever at it, he's got to be a top 10. His hitting is suspect. There were some decent years. It wasn't like he was a 200 average guy. Yeah, but then 260, 270, 280, that area. Not much power, some steals, but it was all about the defense. And like I said, defense matters. And if he's the best one to ever do it, and we're doing a top 10, he's got to be on it. But he is my last one, number 10.
Right on. Jordan, you want to take this first?
Yeah, Ozzie Smith. You can't go wrong. Like you said, his defense was very phenomenal. Highly athletic. I mean, you can't go without Ozzie Smith, but running onto the field and doing a flip before he gets to shortstop. But no, he honestly, uh, he was actually a pitcher. All the pitchers that ever played with him, actually, all said that he loved him because they knew if the ball was hit to him, they're out of trouble.
Yeah.
Which
Yep.
makes you know that this guy was doing his job and he did his job right at shortstop. And like you said, Craig, that shortstop is a very, very defensive position, and he was one of the greats.
And real quick, just a couple numbers, Al, before you go.
Mm-hmm.
77 war, 580 steals.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to bring that up.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did.
15-time All Star,
Yep.
13-time Gold Glove,
Yeah. Yep.
and
Incredible.
and even though we're kind of downgrading his hitting, he actually won the Silver Slugger at shortstop once.
Yeah, that 1 year in '87. Yep.
Yeah, he had almost 2,500 hits. So there you go.
Yeah, man. Listen, listen. By the way, Jordan, is he on your list? Are we going to say that as we go along? Or are we
I
holding
think
that in
we should
reserve?
we should say we maybe if we don't want to do the number, just say
Yeah.
he's on my list and we'll get to him.
Okay.
No, he is definitely on my list.
Okay. He is also on mine.
Yep.
Uh,
Okay, so yeah, let me second some Ozzy stuff because Craig and I are the age to have been able to watch Ozzy play his whole career, and it was some of these guys you just have to read about, like the Archie Vaughns and the Pop Lloyds and other guys that'll come up later, and do the best you can because you didn't get to see him play.
Right.
But this guy, I must have seen play 1,000 times, and there's nobody I ever watched in playing defense enjoyed watching playing defense more than Ozzy Smith. And one big point that I was going to bring up whenever Ozzy came up is it is really hard to look at statistics on a website and judge the defensive shortstop's merit because you look at Ozzy's fielding percentage for his career is, and I just lost it, I had it, 978. Okay. Um, Derek Jeter's is 976. Nobody, and I love Derek Jeter, but nobody's putting him in the same class as Ozzy as a defender, right?
Right.
But their percentage, like bare percentage points off. So looking at stats didn't help me a whole lot with the guys I didn't know how good they were at defense, is what I'm trying to say. But Ozzy, I believe the only reason he's anywhere close to these guys and not leaps and bounds ahead is because he covered so much more ground than your average shortstop.
Totally agree. Yeah, I'm just
100%.
I'm on him now, looking at more stuff, and yeah, he had a remarkable career. He really did.
He's amazing, and he's the worst hitter on my list by far, and I
Yeah,
don't care.
I don't care either. Exactly, he needs to
So,
be there. Yeah, absolutely. Okay,
Love him.
all right.
go ahead, Jordan.
I think
I'll
is
go.
my number 10 next.
Yeah, it's Al's
Oh, I'm
number
sorry,
10.
Al. I'm an idiot.
Cool.
I'm sorry.
No worries. No worries at all. Now, okay, so here we go. We're going to get this going because I wasn't sure what to do with this. It came up when we were texting earlier. And so what I did is make him my number 10 because the numbers are so obscene. I had a hard time leaving him off the list. But I also have very mixed feelings about the whole steroid era. And he's one of the guys that got caught. And that is Alex Rodriguez. I'm putting him at number 10 just because the numbers say he must be on the list, but the rest of it says he must not. And I wasn't sure what to do. So I'm putting him at the bottom of the list.
Okay.
Yep.
Um.
Okay.
All right, Jordan, go ahead.
Um. All right. Well, I mean, since we're gonna talk about him, I might as well just reveal my number 9. Al, he was my number 9.
Oh, right. We're close with that. That's interesting. I wasn't sure where this
So
would pan out.
here's my thing though. Yes, it was kind of hard for me as well because I also know he was more also known as a third baseman when he went to the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
Just the problem with that is like that you bring up, and I know we were texting about it. Is yes, the steroids, but he was at the younger time with Seattle. I guess we could put it on with. He was just so good with that team that I'm surprised hasn't even had. Still surprised years later, never won that a World Series championship with that. How good that Seattle Mariners team was.
Oh
One of
yeah.
the best teams to never win a championship. I agree. I completely agree.
Well, 100%. But he was, I would say, he was kind of in that era up there with the greatest shortstops. Like people were comparing him to a guy who was probably more similar to our time, probably on all of our lists right now, Cal Ripken.
Mm-hmm.
He was being compared to him, who but yeah, like you mentioned, to me, it's the steroids and yeah, I'm the same with you, Al. I go back and forth with that as much I believe everyone who watches baseball does.
No doubt, it's a tough one. It really is. It really is because the numbers are just insane. They're insane. The other thing I will say about the steroid era, and then I want to hear what Craig has to say on this whole thing, is part of me wants to tell them all to go screw themselves. Anybody that got caught, they don't make any lists, they don't make any hauls, they don't make anything. Part of me looks at it though like he was still head and shoulders above the other guys taking steroids. So again, I still it ask me tomorrow, I might even have a different answer. I don't know. It's just a tough one, you know.
Well, I totally agree. It is really tough. Obviously considered him. He did not make my list. I mean, for the steroids, obviously. And by the way, the not unlike Bonds and some of the others who did not take them earlier, or like Roger Clemens, who I would think would, if he just stopped when when he started taking steroids and never got caught and just stopped right there, he still would be a Hall of Famer.
Hmm.
I don't think A Rod would, only because there's evidence now. I remember towards the end, and nobody really paid too much attention to this, but I distinctly remember that towards the end of his career, when he got caught the last time, they were talking about now that there was evidence that he was taking it in college.
Oh, that's crazy. I don't remember that. Yeah, okay.
Nobody
Wow.
remembers that,
Okay.
but that means he might have been taking it the entire time.
Yeah, but I will say this too: to assume that Clemens and any of these other guys weren't taking steroids
That's
is a
true
little
too.
misleading too.
That's true too.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Mike Schmidt could have been taking steroids for all we know. These guys were taking. Lyle Alzado was taking steroids on the 1970s Oakland Raiders. We all, myself included, act like steroids started in the mid 90s. They've been around
No,
forever.
it just became rampant in baseball in that time. But I absolutely agree with you. We don't know, so I don't. I just had that in the back of my mind. He didn't make my list. Plus, I also hate him. So
And I
there's that.
completely respect him and
I
hating him. I love
I
that too.
no, I really do. I effing hate that guy. He is the most pretentious prick on television. I can't stand him.
But okay, I know we're talking. I know we're talking shortstops, right? But we all say that. But then, my
He's so
opinion.
fake. He's fake. He's fake
Well,
on television
no,
too.
but you can say that. But then what? But then obviously, I mean, it'll probably be a layered podcast. But then, how come a dude like David Ortiz, who also is on the list,
I
and he
totally agree.
and
David Ortiz got caught too, and he gets in the Hall of Fame. You know why? Because the media loved him. That's
Yeah,
all it is.
that's a
right, but
great
you know
point.
what? But you want to know why the only media loved him is because they were scared. I could. I think my dad showed me the article of it. He threatened to punch a reporter on live television when he brought it up. How? Why was he allowed to play baseball?
Yeah.
Why was he allowed to play baseball after
Hey,
that? He
listen,
should have
David
been
Ortiz got
suspended.
famous as a Red Sox, so I don't like him, obviously. So I'm on your side with that, absolutely.
That's
But
so
that's
awesome.
what it comes down to. Everybody loved him. He was Big Poppy and the lovable guy. And even though he was on the list, he gets in because he was friendly with the media for the most part, other than that time, obviously. But for the most part, the media liked him, the fans liked him. He was likable, and Alex Rodriguez is not likable. And
But
Roger Clemens is kind of a prick. Barry Bonds
Barry
isn't
but can
Bonds,
you?
likable. All those
perfect
guys
But
are
can?
likable, and he is, so he gets in.
Yep.
But also my thing is too, and this I don't understand because you brought up the likeness, and I know we'll probably go after this. But also another dude who's likable, but got caught in MLB won't allow, but is loved by the fans and the media. Manny, Manny is loved
Yep,
by everyone.
yep.
How come he's not getting the same credit as David Ortiz? I think it's a screw over.
It's a
I
whole
agree.
yeah.
There's a you want to talk about guys just on media with no. How about a guy who deserves to be there with his numbers, does not have a steroid scandal, although he was playing during that time, so you never know for sure. But no scandal around him, in literally not in the Hall of Fame only because he's a dick towards the media and always has been, and that's Albert Bell.
Oh, perfect.
Yep,
Albert Bell
100%.
Albert
Yep.
Bell's numbers are Hall of Fame worthy, undoubtedly. And the only reason why he doesn't get in is because he was a dick to the media.
That's absolutely correct. Absolutely.
100%. I agree with that.
All right.
I love it. That was going to happen at some point, and I'm glad it happened because we had to have that conversation.
No, we honestly did. We could have a whole hour podcast with that one.
For sure. For
I
sure.
agree. All right. So that was your nine, right, Jordan?
So he was my number nine. So I don't think we really got to talk about it. I guess we could skip him. We talked about him enough. So if you want to go, Craig, you're more than welcome.
All right. Well, my number nine is a guy I never saw play. None of us saw play, but I got some numbers here to support this, and his name is Pee Wee Reese.
Oh, Pee Wee Reese. All right.
Oh
He
wow. Okay.
did not make my list, but was very close.
68.4 WAR. I got wars on everybody, by the way, because
Love it.
just pay attention to the wars for the end, because something's going to blow your mind. But anyway, 68.4 WAR. He led on defensive WAR 3 years in a row, and was one of the only. I think there was only one other player to ever do that at shortstop. He also missed his three prime years in the WAR, and he's a 10-time All Star and the highest Los Angeles Dodger to this day, even now in WAR, the WAR category ever.
Wow.
Wow.
No Dodger has a higher WAR than Pee Wee Reese at 68.4. I saw that I was on the fence with him too, and when I saw that, I'm like, well, he's on now.
That's fascinating. I mean, there's been a lot of good Dodgers. That's impressive.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, there's guys that
Mhm.
are right there, like 68.1 or whatever, but he's the highest.
That's why. That's great stat.
That is a very very great stat.
So that's my number nine. Is
I
he
love it.
on anybody's list?
No, he did not make mine. What about you, Jordan?
Sadly, he did not.
I mean, he was right on the cusp. Again, he was in my 22 that I had to cut down to 10.
Was he
But
considered at all, Jordan, or no?
He was. Actually, I'm not gonna lie. He was actually considered for number 10.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I have him at nine.
but
He wasn't up there with the top five or anything, but I just want to put him on there after I saw some of the stuff
that's
on him.
not. Honestly, that's a good pick because you know you hear a lot of stories about Pee Wee Reese, about how great he was defensively with the bat. But let's also not forget, and to this day, I think the Robinson family thank him so much. He was the only Dodger around that time that accepted Jackie Robinson on the team.
I'm
Yep.
glad you
You
brought
know,
that up, Jordan. That is one of the coolest things I've ever read about Pee Wee Reese, and it makes him even greater
and,
to me.
and the thing that was, I mean, we're all baseball fans, so I don't know have you seen it or if anyone who's listening hasn't seen it. 42, Chadwick Boseman,
Yes.
Bosemick. The quote that Pee Wee Reese said to him was actually a true line that he actually said to him. He's like, one day we will all wear 42, and here every April 15th, every player wears number 42. So that really hits the heart that
Yeah,
he
that ended up
knew
happening.
exactly what he was talking about.
That's beautiful. That really is. I love that.
All
Yeah,
right.
and I love that you made your list, Craig. That was a good one. He was a tough one for me not to put on. And when I went with Ozzy, he was going to be my defensive guy. You know what I mean? And that's
Yep.
more what Pee Wee's known for. So I just went with one big defense guy, but there's a great case for him to be on this list, 100%.
All right. So Al, who's your number nine?
Okay. Well, this is going to be fun because you mentioned the Negro League guy, Pop Lloyd, and he comes up a lot on you look up greatest Negro League shortstop.
He's right there.
Absolutely. I started digging and I found a guy who I went with over old Pop, and that is Mr. Willie Wells. I don't know if this guy came
Yes.
across. Okay.
Right.
So, a couple things about Willie Wells. Now, he played 983 games at shortstop, which is the least amount of anybody on my list, but that's because it was Negro League and they played a half seasons. You know what I mean? So he played a lot of seasons to get to 983 games in the Negro League. So he certainly earned it as far as how many games he played. Now check this out. This was his 1930 season. Check this out. 413 batting average, 495 on base percentage, 684 slugging percentage, 1.179 OPS. How's that feel?
Wow! Holy cow!
1926 to 1930, he had an OPS over 1,000, or however you say it, over 1.0, however you want to say it, right?
Yep.
His career 328 batting average, .407 on base percentage, 943 OPS. And here's
Wow.
my now. There's a lot of great stats with Willie. Here's maybe my favorite: 161 steals, not a ton. One caught stealing.
Jesus, holy cow!
I mean, they're just stats just fly off the page when you're looking at this guy. And by all accounts, he was a great fielder too. So was Pop Lloyd. So you're splitting hairs. They're two of the best. But a lot of people talk about Pop Lloyd. I don't hear a lot of people talk about Willie Wells. So I wanted to bring up a guy who deserved it and also wasn't quite the name that Pop is. So he's my number 9.
That is a great name. That is a great pull. I definitely considered him. I came across him obviously, and then in my research I was doing, and I did see some stuff on him, and he crossed my mind for sure. And yeah, he just didn't make my list, but no harm, no harm, no foul with that. That is a very very good case to make for him to be on the list for sure.
Right on. Jordan?
Nah, I have to agree. I 100%, and that just blows my mind. He only got caught stolen once.
Isn't that
You
something?
don't, yeah, you don't see that at all. Even like what Lou Brock and Ricky Henderson, they
Yeah,
got
right.
caught. Like that's incredible to me that he got caught stealing one time. I'm
Blew
not,
me away. Blew me away. I mean, that's cool. You appreciate that as much as I did because I thought that was something else.
Imagine
And
if you're
and then
that catcher. You're that catcher who threw him out. You got to feel pretty good about that.
yeah, that guy I
yeah,
hope
yeah,
is in the Hall
actually,
of Fame. He should be on our
and then
catcher list.
what was that batting average that year? You said was what four something?
413.
If he was playing around, he could probably make Ted Williams a run for his money. That's insane.
That's the
This
sad.
guy,
That's the neat thing to think about, and the sad thing in the reality of it is we'll never know. But boy, it's fun to think about how a Willie Wells would have done if everybody was integrated, or a Pop
yeah,
Lloyd, or all these other great players, that we talk about over time. If you're a baseball nerd like all of us,
yeah, that holy cow, that's insane. This guy, we need to find some clips of this guy and watch him play. Holy cow, this guy is just, it's just fun just to see what his stats are. Holy shit.
yeah, it's something. I mean, imagine what that 5 seasons in a row of an OPS over 1,000.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
I mean,
that's very hard to do.
it's incredible. And how many shortstops do that? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, this is back when shortstops were supposed to be, 5'6" guys, light hitting. You know.
exactly. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah. Hit 8 home runs and bat 310 or something, right? Oh, I love it. So yeah, that's cool. All right, Willie Wells.
That's awesome. I really, really like that. It's fun to now. It's fun to learn about some history. That was really cool.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, bud. Is it Jordan for number 8 now? Is that where we're heading?
Yep.
Yes, we are. And all right, number 8. It was hard for me to do, but I had to put him on the list. I couldn't put him very, very low on the list, so I kind of put him at number 8. Again, I'm pretty sure a guy we never watched, but we definitely have heard of. Alan Trammell of the Detroit Tigers.
Oh, I saw him.
Yeah. We don't
Oh, did you?
underestimate how
Okay.
old the two of us are.
Yeah, you
All right. Well,
underestimated our age,
I don't
man.
know.
I absolutely saw Alan Trammell.
I
Absolutely.
don't know. But it was interesting to me that you know he he just highly. How one? First of all, why did it take him so long to get into the Hall of Fame? I don't know.
Yeah.
But this dude was like all over. The fielding, the hitting, everything he did for the even the Tigers organization, it just blows my mind of how great and I'll kind of say it because now everyone also talks about him. Another guy that's not talked about a lot, like how underrated he is. But out of the ways how this dude was at 19 years old to make his debut, you know, he wasn't really a rookie of the year, finished fourth, but the stories you hear about Alan Trammell and the stats about him, it kind of blows my mind that again this is not someone that's really talked about a lot, but he is my number 8. I liked him. Also, interesting stat to know. I know the Tigers haven't been around that long, but I just want to bring it up. First Tiger to have 200 hits and over 100 RBIs in a single season. He was the first one to do that.
That's
Wow.
amazing. And I mean, didn't Ty Cobb play for the Tigers? Like they have been around for a while, haven't they?
Yeah, but he didn't hit.
Yeah.
He never hit the homers.
Yeah. So, but I just mean they've been around a long time. So that's
Oh
just a
yeah.
Oh, yeah. But yeah,
wow.
no, he was. Yeah, I just thought that was interesting too because you mentioned Ty Cobb, who was the second place in career hits, but it's the first one to do have 200 hits and over 100 RBIs in a single season.
Incredible. Incredible. That's a good stat. I like that. Yeah, and if you don't mind me jumping on this real quick, Craig.
Go ahead.
So this was the hardest name for me to leave off my list. He was my number 11. I
Okay.
love Alan Trammell, and I remember watching him play very well, and he was a great player. And he was a tough one for me to leave off. It was really hard. So I'm glad he made your list because he should be on a list.
Well, for me, my number 8 player was Alan Trammell.
Oh, get out!
Yep.
Really? No.
Absolutely. And a couple other little nuggets I found. 70.7 WAR, and he was one of 5 players with a 340 average with 25 home runs. Only 5 players have ever done that at the shortstop position.
Can you say that again, Craig?
340 average
Mm-hmm.
and 25 or more home runs.
Wow. Okay.
Only 5 have ever done it.
And especially in the '80s, you don't hear that.
And he also won the World Series MVP
Yep.
in
Mm-hmm.
'84.
Yep.
And he had 9 seasons of a 110 OPS plus or better.
Mm.
Three
Yeah, that's
time,
good stuff.
4-time Gold Glove, 3-time Silver Slugger, 6-time All Star, over 1,000 RBIs, almost 2,400 hits. Absolutely one of the best, and he was my number 8. And yeah,
That's good stuff, both of you. I'm glad he made your list because I was annoyed at myself that he didn't make mine.
well, that means you have to reveal your number 8.
Okay, well, this is interesting because he got mentioned already, although he didn't make a list. And that is, this was my favorite guy that I didn't know much about to do a whole bunch of research on and find things out. Archie Vaughn. You mentioned him as your one of your two honorable mentions, Craig.
Yes.
Well, this guy, man, holy moly! I mean, and factor in right off the bat that he missed 3 years from the war, like you said. He
Yeah,
made,
we got
starting at 20 years old, playing with the
Yep.
Pirates, he made 9 straight All-Star games to start his career.
Wow.
Yeah. Lifetime stats. And think about this for a shortstop who played from 1932 to 1948. 318 batting average, 406 on base percentage, which means today's modern stats nerds would love him because he's a high on base percentage guy. 453 slugging, that equals an 859 OPS, 9-time All Star, Hall of Fame in 85. Played 1,485 games at shortstop, and just the offensive numbers in his era, and by everything I've read, he was a really good fielder too, although hard to quantify without having seen him. But those numbers just jumped off the page, especially in that era to me, and the more I read about him, the more I liked. So Archie Vaughn, number 8.
Totally. I almost put him on. I did. I did a lot of the research on him. I'm glad he's on your list just to make sure he gets recognized. Because, like you said, there's some people that from the Negro Leagues that get recognized, some that don't. He's definitely kind of lost in the shuffle, and he shouldn't be. He was very good, and we gotta really make sure, really drive it home about these guys that went to the war. I
Yeah,
mean, almost all of them went to the war for like right in the prime of their career, their age like 24, 25, 26, 27 seasons.
yep. That
Wiped
that can't be
away.
overstated, Craig. I'm so with you, man.
Completely wiped away.
Wiped away. Imagine if any of the modern guys we've talked about so far, Trammell, A Rod, whoever.
Yeah,
Uh,
just real quick, we're going to take 3 years off of your career right in the middle, right in your mid 20s.
yeah, let's just say we take ages 26 through 29 seasons just right out of everybody.
Yeah.
That leaves a
Yeah.
mark, man. So that's a great point. I love it that you brought
But
it up, and it's a really good point, man. I'm with you.
Nah, yeah, I agree with both of you. One, I'm very, very happy that he's getting recognized, and you did it, Al. Great stats. Uh, you know, should get recognized. Obviously, we know the big ones that have come over from the Negro leagues into the MLB. But it's really great stat. But yeah, I agree with you guys. The war has taken out so many people's careers,
Oh, Joe
and
DiMaggio and Ted Williams too. Let's not forget
Yep.
those guys.
you can't forget. And I think if he didn't go to the war, probably the greatest pitcher of all time, Sandy Koufax.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100. I think his career was cut way too short because of the war.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's a perfect example. Perfect example.
Totally agree.
Yeah, 100%, guys, and good job, Al. I really appreciate having him on as your number 8.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, this is fun. All right. This is a blast. So what do we got? Who's up with number 7 now, maybe? Is it
All right, that'll be me.
all right?
Uh, we're probably gonna have a lot of speculation with this one, but like judgment wise, or where I placed him on the list, Robin Yount.
Uh,
I had number 7, just because you know he did a lot in his career. Like I was looking at his 80 1980 stats. He really hit a lot. He had 10 triples, which surprisingly led the league around that time. 49 doubles and 23 home runs, and also started a streak of 11 to 12 straight years of hitting double-digit home runs, all the way from 1980 to 1991.
yeah.
Love it. Love it. And Craig, I recognize that chuckle. So where is he on your list?
He's on my list, but he's up higher. So
Okay, I thought I
I'll
knew
let
it
you
then
know.
and I was wrong. Well, then you chuckled for me because Robin Yount is also number 7 on my list, Jordan.
Oh.
and
Oh, this is really good. I'm watching this.
this is he's one. This is a guy again that Craig and I are old enough to have seen, and I saw a lot of him. And he was one of my favorite non-Phillies back in the day, and I just love this guy. Um, two-time MVP. Another thing I want to say, just in general, about guys that played in that era, like him and Ozzie Smith, guys that touched the '70s and played the bulk of their career in the '80s. It was almost a dead ball era. I mean, it was, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't a full-on like Honus Wagner dead ball era when nobody's hit more than 10 home runs a year, but it was the average scores in games were runs below what was coming in the '90s. You know what
Yep.
I mean?
Yep.
Like it was entirely different game. You had guys stealing 100 bases and multiple guys doing it. So stats are a little different. So I take that fully with a grain of salt when I look at anybody from that era, and Robin Yount included. And he still managed to retire with a 285 batting average, 342 OBP, 772 OPS. 964 fielding percentage, two-time MVP, like I said, played almost 1,500 games at the position. I love Robin Yount, and I'm right there with you. He's number 7 for me too.
All right. Well, I gave this stat to you before, Al. I don't know if I ever told you, Jordan. Uh, he he came up when he was 18, but he
Hmm.
actually got a couple starts when he was 17.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And
Oh, that's crazy.
because he was technically a minor, when it got to be 10 p.m., he had to get pulled off the field because he was a minor.
That's the greatest thing ever.
Wow. Holy cow.
You can't
That's the
if
greatest
you're
thing
if
ever.
you're under eight at that time. If you were under 18, you couldn't work past 10 p.m. So if the game went past 10 p.m., he had to get pulled off the field.
That's crazy.
That's my favorite. I mean, that is just unbelievable,
Um,
unbelievable. And to be anywhere near good enough to take the field in Major League Baseball at 72 or at 17 years old is just mind-boggling.
and then go on to be one of the best to do it. I mean, over
Yep,
3,000 hits, two
yep,
MVPs.
yep.
Um, he had a 10.6 WAR, which is the third highest single season total ever by a shortstop. He
Incredible.
he has in the top 50 of any position, top 50 in games played, hits, doubles, total bases, and runs scored.
Yeah, yeah. He that's the other thing that you're bringing up through the stats that I meant to say is longevity, and not just longevity, but consistent good longevity, and just hang in there and suck for the last 5 years. He was good for 20 years.
1982, 331 average, 379 slugging, on base, 578 slugging, 46 doubles, 12 triples, 29 homers, 114 RBIs, 129 runs scored, and he threw in 15 steals.
Incredible, incredible.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was one of his MVPs. So that's
that's
why I do
beautiful.
have him a little higher on the list, but I'm glad that he's on everybody's list because he deserves to be.
I
Yeah. And
love it, man.
I also want to bring this up because, in my opinion, we know Milwaukee hasn't won. Probably one of the greatest to not even win a World Series.
Yeah,
You know, not to be in there. I mean, I know around the time Milwaukee was in the American League, but
yep,
he's definitely probably one of the greatest players to not even hold a World Series ring.
I agree. I agree. He's right there. I mean, there's a bunch of them, obviously, but he's if you're going to mention that kind of a thing, then he's got to be mentioned as well because he's definitely part of that.
Yeah, man. And I'll just throw this in real quick to the what I believe it was it Craig, help me out here. Was it 82 that it was the Brewers and the Cardinals?
I think, but I don't know for sure.
82 or 3 was one of the best World Series I've ever seen in my life.
Yep.
I remember watching every game as a little 10-year-old and just being like, oh my God. Like, you had the Willie McGee,
Yeah.
Vince Coleman wasn't there yet, but the Andy Van Slyke, Tommy Herr Cardinals, you know what I mean? John Tudor and Joaquin Andujar. And
Andy
then you
Van
had
Slyke. I remember Andy Van Slyke on the Pirates, but go ahead.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Now I'm not sure where he was at that point. He might still been a Pirate. I can't remember. But yeah, and you had this Robin Yount led Brewers team that had all these cool players. Man, I just loved it. That era was so cool. Back when people bunted people over all the time, and
By the way, did you consider Robin Yount and Carney Lansford looking like each other?
the second you said it, I can see it. Never thought about it, but the second you said it, I can see it.
They looked like each other to me.
And they're also two of the rare guys that a mustache looks good on.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Oh
Yep.
yeah, Robin Yount's mustache was legendary.
Solid, solid.
Solid stash, man.
That's right. That's right. Oh man, that's gonna be. I'm gonna have to change one of my fantasy teams' names to Solid Stash.
So it should be solid stash man.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Oh, perfect. That's it. It's done.
Man.
That's awesome. Okay, so what do we got now, Craig?
Yep.
So my number 7, right? Because you guys did Yount for 7 for both of you,
Yep.
and I told you Yount is later on for me. But number 7 for me, I hope he's on your list, although I don't know for sure because there was some trepidation for me too because we're still kind of on the back end of it. But my number 7 is Barry Larkin.
Mm-hmm.
12-time All
Okay.
Star.
Yeah.
12-time All Star. 1995 NL MVP. 70.5 WAR. 380 stolen bases. 1,400 runs. 960 RBIs. Almost 200 home runs. 2,400 hits. A 116 OPS plus. And they're talking about it such a on the list that I was looking at and some of the things that I was looking at. They always said it was a toss up between him and Trammell for their particular rankings, which are different from ours, obviously. Uh, but he compares very favorably with Trammell and the NL MVP. He had 51 steals with 56 attempts in 1995 when he won the MVP.
Wow.
Uh,
Nice.
yeah, I
Not
mean,
quite Willie Wells, but very impressive.
Yeah.
absolutely. Yep, I totally agree. But yeah, so that's why, and I'm sure Al, you remember Barry Larkin, and I'm sure you, even if he's not on the list, you know that he was a pretty good player.
He was damn sure on my list. Absolutely, he was, and I'll reveal the number soon enough. But he absolutely was on my list, and I want to throw this stat at you because we have a lot of guys so far. Robin Yount was one of them. There's other guys coming. A Rod was one of them that played a lot of games at shortstop, but also played a lot of games elsewhere, right?
Yep.
Um, Now, you play 1,000 games at a position, you can be on this list as far as I'm concerned easily, right? Even if you play 1,000 at another one. But here's the crazy thing about Barry Larkin that sets him apart from almost everybody except Ozzy, and that is he played 2,090 Major League Baseball games. He played 3 at second base, 3 at DH, and 2,084 at shortstop.
Nice.
Now, how's that for a stat? I thought that was pretty freaking cool.
That's a great setup.
Barry Larkin is an underrated guy. He's a soft-spoken guy. He didn't really
Yep,
do anything once he retired. You never really heard from him again. So he
yep.
kind of just fell out, and nobody really talks about him. But you're making a list like this, you got to mention him.
Right there with you, my man. Go ahead, Jordan.
Uh, well, I mean, we mentioned his name. Barry Lucken was my number 6. Uh,
Okay.
He's
for
my 6'2", since we're heading that direction anyway. and if I could throw this in real quick before you go, Jordan, I flip
yeah,
flopped him and Robin Yount about 7 times because I like them both so much.
that's awesome. But I do have the. I'm sorry, that's really great. Um, but I do have to agree with Craig on this one. Very underrated. I don't think he gets talked enough about. The funny part is actually with my research, I found an interesting story. If you actually go to the baseballhall.org, where you could type in a player, they'll give you his plaque and how he started and the
Oh,
couple
that's
of
cool.
years. So they've done that. That's where I get my research from. Just if everyone's wondering. But here's a story that I found out. In college, he was playing both baseball and football, and
Really?
he wanted to do both. A la Bo Jackson.
Mhm.
But his college football coach went up to him and said, "Hey, stick to playing baseball." And when Barry Larkin got inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2012, he went on. His football coach was there, and he went up to him and he said, "This is the best decision that you have made for me, and I can't thank you enough." He owes his whole baseball career to his football coach.
That's
That's awesome.
awesome. That is so cool. I love that. And what a smart decision, too, because we know how football careers are. Even if he was the best football player ever of all time, he would have been retired 10 years later, probably with multiple knee surgeries or whatever. And he got to play almost 20 years of baseball and walk away healthy. It's beautiful.
Yep.
Yep. And also, I don't know if you said the stat about this, but I also found this cool. He had uh, 30 or more stolen bases. He did that at least 5 times in his career. He led the league with 30 or more stolen bases.
That is a cool stat. I didn't catch it. I have his 379 total steals, but I didn't break it down like that. That's cool.
Totally agree. Yeah. Can't
Love
go
it.
wrong with Larkin.
What was
So
No,
that,
me,
Craig?
you can't.
so that means you guys had him at 6, and
Yes.
you guys did your 7. So is it my turn to do 6?
Yeah, I guess you're up at
Yep.
6, Craig, right?
Okay. Well, hang on one second. Wait a minute. Did I screw this up? Oh, no, 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 no. Wait a minute. I might have screwed this up. Did I say I said my number? Okay. All right. Never mind. I didn't screw it up. I didn't screw it up. Sorry. I got confused myself for a second.
All
Number
good.
You're good.
6 is Luis Aparicio.
Oh, no, no.
Rookie of the year, stolen base leader 9 straight years, and in those 9 years, he had 3 times more than anybody else in the American League. 3 times.
Amazing.
9 Gold Gloves, 13-time All Star, Luis Aparicio.
Real quick, this did not make my list. This and Alan Trammell. Actually, him, Alan Trammell, Pee Wee Reese, and there was one other guy I'm not thinking of. It'll come to me eventually. I'll say it when it comes to me. Uh, were very hard for me not to have make this list because Aparicio was one of those guys I read about. I had baseball cards. I had, you know what I mean? Like he was one of those guys that I never saw play, but when I was a little kid playing with my baseball cards and reading my magazines and old, stuff, he would come up all the time and was just talked about like such a wizard, almost like he sounds like an Ozzie Smith of his era. You know what I mean?
Right, and with a lot more steals.
Yes. I mean, well, Ozzie had 580 or
Well,
well,
maybe not career, but in terms of this was also a time in the late in the 70s, right? I think in the
relative to the
70s.
era.
Yeah, relative to the era, there was nobody stealing bases. Nobody.
Right on. No, that makes sense. Absolutely.
So he did not
Yeah.
make your list. Jordan, did he make your list?
No, he did not.
All righty.
But no, it's good to mention him. Uh, again, probably guy for his size, like you said, and have more stolen bases. What was he like 5 something, 5'9"? I believe I checked it up. It was something around there. To
Yeah,
be
5'9",
that,
5'9".
yeah, and to be up there, it's really good. Really great at his defense, at least what I read about. But yeah, no, that's a great pick. I can't disagree with that.
Yeah, I'm glad he made somebody's list. I really am. I'm glad, Craig, because he was a tough one for me to leave off, and I just kind of, his offensive stats are so similar to Ozzy that I was only going to go with one defensive guy specialist, sort of. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. Totally agree.
But
Totally
I'm
agree with
really
you on
glad
that.
he made. Yeah, I'm really glad he made somebody's list. That's awesome.
All right. So that was my six. So that means we're down to five for you guys, and that's Jordan. Your number five, right?
Yep. Probably gonna get yelled at that he's this low, but I feel like there's more players above him. But number five, in my opinion, deserved the nickname, but the captain, Derek Jeter, is number five on my list.
Okay.
Right on, Craig. You go first.
Well, Jordan, go ahead and you can
Oh yeah, I'm sorry.
you can
I'm
explain a
sorry.
little
I
bit.
forgot there was a whole thing before we go. Sorry, Jordan. Go.
No, no, you're good. Just by like, what isn't there to love about Derek Jeter? This dude from day one played his heart out, even to when he was age 40. He was still making plays. Every time the guy does the jump throw, they call it the Derek Jeter play. He literally hustled his heart out, playing defensively, offensively. He did it all, and to do it with a legendary organization like the New York Yankees, spend his whole career there. 5 World Series rings, 3,465 career hits at 2,674 games as short. Uh,
Yeah.
um, through that whole career for 20 years. He he deserves to be on. I think anyone's list to be up there with the greatest shortstops.
If somebody makes the
And
top 10 and he's not on it, then they lose all validity.
100% agree.
100%. Not like with the one guy that screwed him out of being a unanimous Hall of Famer. But we won't talk about that.
Right.
Yeah, no, well, there's always that idiot, and every one of them should be fired.
Honestly.
Yeah, I totally agree. Listen, he's my third favorite Yankee of all time. I mean, iconic plays. I mean, I'm in my early 20s, late teens. He's coming up, and at the time, I was saying to myself, "You're going on a journey now for the next 20 years with this guy that he's gonna take you places you've never been before with baseball," and he did. He totally did that play diving into the stands, coming up bloody and against the
Oh,
Red
that's
Sox.
an
The
iconic play.
that play, the jump throw, like you talked about, the play in Oakland where he has no business being where he was when he did that flip to the catcher
Oh
to
yeah.
Posada where he threw out Jason Giambi or
Yep.
Jeremy Giambi.
Jeremy Giambi. Yep.
Yep, but he's a shortstop and he's on the other side of the first base line.
Yeah.
Why is he there?
I don't. I'm still trying to figure
He
that out.
he honestly he was probably one of the smartest shortstops that
Baseball IQ through the roof.
100%.
Absolutely. No, that guy was a beast. He's obviously on my list. Um, yeah, he's. I mean, it's hard to. It's splitting hairs making these lists. You know what I mean?
Yes, because
And
now we're talking about greatness here.
yeah, and I've seen. It's funny because I saw Jeter everywhere from 10 to 1 on 20 different lists that I pulled up.
But he's
But he was
always
on
there.
he was on every list at least.
Yeah.
And if he hadn't been,
It,
I would have dismissed the list completely. But
it,
go ahead.
oh no, I was gonna say, we there are always the times, I always hear people when I talk baseball, you hear, obviously like your guys' generations, like, the small market teams of like, hey, Kansas City, never really good at third since George Brett left, or this team. You can really say that with the Yankees. I know Anthony Volpe is starting his career, but since Jeter left, there really hasn't been a great shortstop that you saw on. Hey, listen, this is the guy to replace Derek Jeter. In my mind, I don't think you'll ever see a shortstop like Derek Jeter probably for years to come. This guy, like you said, Craig, had the greatest baseball IQ in baseball at a very young age till the day he retired.
Yep, and let's not forget he's playing in the high pressure medium marketplace of New York. Never had a controversy. Never
Yeah.
had anything. You never heard about him doing anything crazy. So he was a straight laced guy, led by example. 3,000 hits, of course, hit the home run for 3,000. I got one more little stat for you. Willie Mays is one of two players to hit 300, hit 300, have three for his career, have 3,000 hits, 500 doubles, 250 home runs, 250 stolen bases, and 1,000 RBIs and 1,000 runs. The only other person to do that besides Willie Mays is Derek Jeter
Jeez, you're on any
in
list.
all of baseball,
Wow.
not shortstops in all of baseball. It's Mays and Jeter, and that's it.
If you make any list Willie Mays is on, you're awesome.
Yep.
Yep.
That's a cool stat, Craig.
And his WAR was 71.5. Just keeping track of the wars. Just I keep saying it, and there's a reason for later on. Go ahead.
Right on, right on. I love it. I don't have a whole lot to add on Jeter. Just one of the best of all time. I mean, if you don't think he's great, I don't know what sport you're looking at. And he did everything. He did everything. He he did everything you would want.
Yep.
The only thing he never did was win an MVP.
And he got robbed twice.
Yeah, and it was crazy. And in large
Yes.
part, it was because of how good his teams were. But
Yep. But he
he had
got robbed twice.
competition from his own teammates. So yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
batting title, World Series MVP, and don't forget he was also just clutch always in the playoffs. 300 average in the playoffs always, and always clutch.
Always.
Yep.
I mean, there's
And,
really nothing negative you can say about him other than maybe he's not as good a defender as some of these guys on this list. But so what? He was really damn good. He
Yep.
wasn't Ozzie
wow.
Smith, but he was really damn good. So I even as I'm trying to make a case for something against him, it sounds ridiculous. So
Yeah. And and of course he is the all time Yankees hits leader.
Well,
Just
yeah, because surprisingly, he's the only one with 3,000 hits. Surprisingly, the Yankees have never had a 3,000 hit person other than Jeter. He broke the record. It was like 2,800 somebody hit.
that's
yeah,
crazy.
that's crazy to think about.
I didn't know that. Is that counting only games played with the Yankees or like
No, no, all time career leaders. Babe Ruth never hit 3,000. Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio, none of those guys had 3,000
wow?
hits. Jeter's the only Yankee to ever do it.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. That's
That's
incredible.
insane to think about.
Incredible. Yeah, and longevity counts, man. And he was good his whole career. So, That's, I mean, he played a long time and he was good a long time. Like, it was
Yep.
so annoying from as a non-Yankee fan. Like, dude, just go away and let us somebody else win.
All right. Well, he's on my list a little later, but no problem with him being five. I'm assuming, Al, he's on your list a little later as well.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Oh,
So, do you have a
we're,
number five, Craig, or what are
yeah,
we doing?
I got number five ready to go.
Go for it.
Two-time MVP, Ernie Banks.
Real quick before you do your thing, that's my number five as well. Go to town.
This is weird.
I would say he's a little bit later on my list, but he is on my list.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, not a whole lot. I mean, we know Ernie Banks. We know everything about, not everything about him, but we know, that's not a surprising name, I don't think, to anybody to be on this list.
No doubt.
Yeah,
No,
so he actually, now this is when I text you guys earlier about different positions, because he actually played more games at first base.
Yes. Absolutely. Legit question. Totally legit question. But you play at 1,125 games at shortstop. I think we can count you wherever.
But he won both of his MVPs when he was playing shortstop.
All his best seasons were at shortstop. The best part of his career was at short, for sure.
Yep, yep. 19-year career, 67.7 career WAR. I mean, Jeter was at 71. I mean, they're all in the 70s or so in that range. But anyway, yeah. Nothing. I don't have a whole lot on him, unfortunately. For whatever reason, I have some stuff on other guys. I didn't write a whole lot down about him. But I mean, we know Ernie Banks. We know how great he is, and absolutely deserves to be on this list.
No doubt, man. No, I love it. I mean, Ernie, he's one of the most famous players of all time, Mr. Cub.
Yep.
Some stats I can throw at you: 14-time All Star. Most of these guys made a crap ton of All Star teams, and he's one of them. His lifetime batting average 270, 330 on base, 500 slugging for an 830 OPS. 512 home runs, 1,636 RBIs. I mean, that's some serious action right there. And not known as one of the best fielders on this list, but remember I brought up the whole fielding percentage thing earlier. And what is it? How much does it really tell you? I would tell you Ozzie Smith is probably way better fielder than Ernie Banks, even in both of their primes. But Ozzie Smith had a 978 fielding percentage. Ernie Banks 969. It's negligible the difference. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
again, I think that's that range issue with Ozzie. But
Well, yeah, that's
it's
the
just
thing too with
interesting.
the range too. Like Jeter, we were talking about Jeter, and his fielding wasn't up to these other guys. He still won like 4 Gold Gloves.
Totally, man, totally. And
well,
Gold
yeah.
Gloves are weird though because Gold Gloves oftentimes go to the biggest name at the position. It's a weird
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. So that's why I didn't even mention it. But anyway,
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because I'll throw it out there as a positive, but then I also know in the back of my mind it doesn't really. It's just a popularity contest.
yep. So Jordan, did you have Ernie Banks?
I did, but he's a little bit more down on my list or further up.
Okay.
Cool, cool.
Did
So
you
where
want
do
to
we
add
go
anything?
next? To
Did you
Jordan's
want?
number four, or
Well, do we want to? But I mean, because when we get to these guys we already talked about, I'm sure we're just going to skip right over them. So Jordan, do you want to expand a little bit on Ernie Banks?
Uh, yeah, just like you said, there's really we all know him, but this is something that I found out, and I don't know, I find this fascinating. But 5 times he actually led the he was hit. Sorry, he hit more than 40 home runs 5 times, and around that area, we know there's so many guys who hit home runs, but he did lead the National League in homers twice, as well as RBIs a couple times.
Yeah,
yeah, that's
he was a bona fide power hitter at the position.
yeah, he was no
One,
joke,
yeah,
man.
yeah, he was really, really good, and yeah, like you said, Mr. Cub, and we all talk about yogiisms, but we also, you also get a couple of things from Ernie Banks, like let's play two every time there's a double header.
Yes,
It's always him.
yes,
So
that's a great. Oh, that's one of my favorite quotes ever. Let's play two. That's great. That's great. Oh, here, and I'll follow you up, Jordan, real quick with his two MVP seasons. the 59 and 58 back-to-backers. By the way, only shortstop in the history of Major League Baseball to win back-to-back MVP awards. Pretty cool
Hmm.
stat there.
Nice.
So those two seasons, 58, 49 home runs, 129 RBIs, 313 batting average, 614 slugging for a 980 OPS.
He
And
had
then the
49 home runs. I didn't know he had a 49 home run
40,
season.
did I say 49? 47, my bad. 47.
Even so,
Yeah,
Yeah,
47, and that's
still.
that's 154 game seasons, by the way.
yep.
And then the next year, the next MVP season, 45 dingers. RBIs go up from 129 to 143. Batted
Jeez.
304, 374 on base percentage, 596 slugging for a 970 OPS. So I mean, that's two of the best seasons any shortstop's ever had.
No doubt.
Nope. 100%. He was a very very good player.
Absolutely, love it.
All right. So, uh,
Oh,
Jordan, you're up for four?
And I'll say
so
this real
yeah,
quick, if I could.
yeah.
Ozzie
What's up?
Smith was my number 4. I went way high with Ozzie, so I won't have a number 4. Just throwing it out there.
Okay.
Um. Well, I mean, I guess me and Al read each other's minds because Ozzie Smith was my number 4 as well.
Oh, get out of
Okay.
here!
Well,
Oh
we're
my
not going to be
God, that's
doing.
hilarious.
Well, we're not. We're not going to be doing anything for number four then because my number four was robbing out.
Oh, and we already talked about Robin. So
We
all
are
right,
talking about Al.
we are
All
covered
right,
at
so
4.
I guess we'll skip to 3. Uh, I mean, we won't talk about 3L because mine was Ernie Banks. I am at number 3.
Okay,
Well, we
cool.
won't talk about mine either because number three was Jeter.
Oh,
I have
hey,
I
well,
have Jeter at 3.
I finally have one that hasn't been mentioned. It is, and this, listen, my top 3, I went back and forth so much. I could have put any one of them in any of the slots and been happy when it came out. But I'm going with the one I never saw play at number 3, and that is the legendary, the man with the $1 million baseball card, Honus Wagner. Eh,
Okay.
now,
Oh,
I assume.
interesting. Okay.
Now, Honus, lifetime stats,
You didn't.
329 batting average, 392 on base percentage, 466 slugging, lifetime 858 OPS. 3,040, wait, I'm sorry, 3,430 hits. He was the major league leading all-time hits leader from the time he retired until Stan Musial caught him in the 50s. All right. That was decades of leading that stat. 722 career steals, 8 batting titles,
Eight.
8 batting titles.
Gee, yeah.
Here's my favorite stat of all his stats. Hit 300 or better in 15 straight seasons.
Yep.
I mean, dear God. Now, this is the dead ball era, too, so there was no home runs being hit by anybody. People have the articles that I read about him when I was researching this. He was not a small man.
No.
He was a
Nope.
big, burly kind of a guy.
Yep.
And they're saying if he, that kind of a player came up now, he'd be hitting 40, 50 home runs easy.
Hey, and if either of you haven't seen it or any of the fans out there haven't seen this, any baseball nerds will love this. I'd never seen it before until this came up with Jordan. So thank you again, Jordan. There's a video you can find on YouTube and other places of him at, I think, 56 years old, hitting ground balls or taking batting practice and fielding ground balls. And
Wow.
Jeez.
he
Holy
is
cow.
cracking the crap out of the ball in his late 50s.
Nice.
Here's another
Well,
little Honus Wagner stat I came across. He had the same amount of votes for the Hall of Fame, the first ever Hall of Fame, as Babe Ruth did.
Yes, he was in that.
okay.
Same amount of votes.
He's in that initial 1936 Hall of Fame class that was the greatest class of all time. With, I
Wow.
believe, Gehrig. I forget who all. I'm going to pull it up now because I forget who it
I
was.
think Cobb wasn't. I think Cobb was part of it as well.
That's correct, definitely. Let me find his
Walter
first name.
Johnson, or was that
Walter.
later?
No,
Yep.
I'm pretty sure you are correct. Cy Young probably would be in there. I'm guessing.
Oh, definitely. It's definitely gotta be.
Baseball.
Anyway, Well, he's doing
Um,
that. Jordan, is Honus Wagner on your list?
yes, he is, and I wanted to bring a couple of things to you guys' attention. See if you actually looked this up when you guys were doing your research. But I found this interesting. Um, when he was at bat, he knew what he was gonna do uh, with the batters, with the pitchers. So this was an interesting stat. He gripped the bat with his hands inches apart when he was seeing an outside pitch, and for an inside pitch, he ended up putting his hands together, which
Talk about
is kind of
reflexes. How quickly he had to do that.
yeah, which it's interesting to think about to do that because you don't see guys. You see the guys grip the bat a little bit higher or choke up or put it down. He's literally spreading his arms apart on the bat when you got quick reflexes. It's just insane to think
And he
about.
also did, back then nobody was striking out like they do now, so he probably didn't even strike out that much.
No,
Um,
probably not. And
oh, here
then
oh, they didn't count it back then
Oh,
until wait, they started counting it in 1910, and he never had more than 64 strikeouts, and that was the most by almost the most other than that was 51. So yeah, he did not strike out much. And here I want to give you my other favorite Honus Wagner stat real quick.
yep.
mm,
I have one more too, but go ahead.
Okay, cool. So he had one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine seasons with over 100 RBIs. Never once hit more than 10 home runs.
wow,
Now remember, this is the dead ball era, and also
yeah,
center field in most parks was like 480.
Totally, totally.
So I mean, think about the fact that Yankee Stadium had the goddamn monuments out in out in the outfield in play,
yeah,
in
It's
play.
crazy to think about.
yeah.
I mean, so yeah, home runs were not what this game was really designed on at all.
No doubt.
Originally, it's changed, but anyway, like I said, he was a big guy. He probably would have hit the home runs. Jordan, you got something else to add before I give my stat?
Yeah, I do. So his manager, Hall of Famer John McGraw,
Yep.
Yes.
called him the perfect player, and this was his quote from the media. I can't make this up. He said, "You can have your Ty Cobb, but I'll take Wagner as my pick of the greatest baseball player. He has the quickest brain I have ever observed in my managerial career."
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Absolutely. The list I saw said had him at number one on this list, and said it's really not disputable. Like they were like he blows everybody out of the water by a mile, and one of the reasons why is, as you know, I've been giving you guys the war for every guy, right?
Yep, yep.
Hmm.
Okay, for so just a couple examples. We got Trammell with a 70, Banks with a 67, Jeter 71, one of the better ones. We have Pee Wee had a 68 war. Take a guess what if you don't know, take a guess what Honus Wagner's war was.
I don't know, but I'm going to say it's 82.
Jordan,
I want to say like up in the 90s, right? Like 91.
130.8.
Holy! Oh my god!
Highest
That's
war
awesome.
of all time.
That is awesome.
130.8.
That's amazing.
And that's
Oh, that's
why
awesome.
I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag. He is my number one.
Absolutely right on. Nice, nice.
I mean, since we're doing that, I will say the same thing. He was my number one as well.
All right.
Right on. And yeah, now you're not going to get a whole lot of massive argument from me on that. It's just, it's a fascinating. I mean, the stats just leap off the page at you. So it's just So hard when you never saw a guy, but everything just screams, I was awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
All right, so Al, do you have to? So wait, are we? This is your number three, right? That was your number three.
Correct.
So that
Yes.
means Jordan has to give us two because we
Yes,
know
and
he has
Um,
before
one.
we do that, real quick, do you mind? I you brought up you did that quote a second ago, Jordan, and I forgot I had a really good one about Archie Vaughan a long time ago that I forgot to read. Do you mind?
yeah, no,
Of
go
course.
ahead.
Not.
Okay, so flashing back to old Archie Vaughan. This was his fellow pirate, a guy named Rip Sewell, who said, talking about how fast Archie Vaughan was. I never saw anybody who could go from first to third or second to home faster than Vaughan. Like we used to say, when he went around second, his hip pocket was dipping sand. That's how sharp he cut those corners.
That's awesome.
I love those old quotes like that, man. Dipping
Mm,
sand. And last thing I'll say before I leave it alone is, and I can't find it, of course. Oh, I had it right here. Nope. I'll tell you when I find it. My bad. Go right ahead, please.
okay. Well, I guess we'll go number two, and
Pretty
I
obvious.
mean, you can't. Yeah, it's pretty obvious. You can't leave him off this list. Again, another great short, probably another great shortstop, and that's Cal Ripken Jr.
He's also my number two.
And he, I will say it now, since we're right there, he is my number one.
No
Yep,
argument there.
and I don't think you can argue. This guy's gonna be holding the record for ever. This record's never gonna be broken. Most consecutive games played uh, ever. He beat that on May 30th, 82. Beat Lou Gehrig's record, but you can't go wrong with Cal Ripken. This dude literally it was like we said, probably like a Derek Jeter back in the day. Hit field was probably known as a man of a thousand stances because I feel like every single day this dude was changing his batting stance. Um,
Absolutely.
but you know, for doing what he did and playing that many games on at one position is remarkable. You can never ever be in this streak. I don't care how strong or tough you are, how healthy you are. This streak will will never ever ever be broken ever again.
There's a
I
couple
second
baseball
that.
stats. There's a couple things in baseball that'll never be broken. That's the number one. Number two is the 56 game hitting streak. I think that'll never get broken either.
I agree with all of that.
Both
And I,
one,
I,
yeah,
I don't think anybody will ever hit 400 again either, personally.
Yeah, yeah, I can see
yeah,
that too.
yeah.
I love it. That's great stuff, man. Yeah, Cal. Yep, absolutely. I love this guy. Here's the thing I love that made pushed him to number one for me. And again, it's all we're splitting hairs here. They're all so great. But if I'm gonna make my case, it's he redefined the position. He was the first of a type, and the Jeters, the A Rods, the guys that were over 6 feet tall and 200 pounds playing shortstop were all because this guy Cal Ripken came along, and he wasn't just the first; he was awesome. So, I mean, 19-time All Star for God's sake.
Mhm.
um, the second most powerful guy at the position, and he played way more. He hit more home runs at shortstop than Ernie Banks. So just, I mean, everything about this guy, class act, the whole deal. I mean, the Iron Man streak also was a big separator for me. I mean,
2,632 games.
yeah, and it wasn't like he broke it by like almost 5 seasons or four seasons, 3 or 4 seasons. I mean, my math sucks with over Gehrig. It was 502 games more than Lou Gehrig. So it wasn't like he just beat it and then sat down the next day.
No.
No,
And
Yeah.
you're right, Jordan. No one will ever, ever, ever come even close to that.
No chance. I'm so with you.
no,
So with
yeah,
you.
and Alan, I have to agree with you. He did change the position. It's remarkable of how you see how the games are played, even modern day. The name that comes up a lot, Ellie De La Cruz from the Cincinnati Reds.
Mm.
That dude is tall. O'Neal Cruz from the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yeah,
Like
the
these
six
are
seven
guys.
shortstop. Come on.
Yeah, these are guys that
Should
you
be
know.
outfielders.
Yeah, exactly. That
Totally.
you would think but they're great at short, and it's because of, like you said, Cal Ripken, this 6 foot dude playing the position. He really did change that position for all of baseball. It's remarkable the things that he has done.
Well said.
Totally agree, guys. Real quick, couple things from me: two-time Gold Glove, eight-time Silver Slugger. I'll mention the 19-time All-Star. Over 400 home runs at short. Over 3,000 hits. Uh, over 1,600 runs. And I've been giving you the WARs. He has the second highest WAR behind Wagner. Over Jeter, everybody. His WAR is 95.9.
Holy crap.
Wow.
Are you kidding me?
Wow. Wow. Oh, and let me piggyback on that amazing stat with another one. The thing we all know about Jeter that so just cements his awesomeness is how good he was in the postseason, right? Now the
Yep.
one benefit he got that he played for the Yankees, you know what I mean, and they were in the postseason, almost every year of his career, maybe every year of his career. I'm not quite sure actually, but old Cal is mired away in in Baltimore his whole career, but here's what's cool. When he got there, that son of a gun delivered. He had 124 plate appearances in the postseason, batted 326, 411 on base percentage, 455 slugging, 966 OPS.
Yeah. So he did not waste his opportunities when they came around.
That's right. He delivered whenever he was able to get that team there. He delivered.
All right. So he's your number one. He's our number two. Are we missing anything? Did everybody say they're one, two, and three?
Al, did you say you're number two?
Oh yeah. So my 1, 2, 3 for me is Cal Ripken 1, Jeter 2, Honus Wagner 3.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Well, now I think everyone said it.
Oh, could I throw you one more thing before we throw a cap on this sucker?
Yeah. Go ahead, Al.
The thing I was looking for a minute ago, and it's just a fun, silly little thing because I love old school nicknames. Honus Wagner had a brother named Albert Butts Wagner, Butts.
Oh, that's funny.
I thought that was worth a mention.
Why would the parents do that?
I
Come
don't
on.
know. I don't know. And why is it plural? Does he have two of them?
Albert Two Ass Wagner.
Two ass Wagner.
Oh my God. Okay.
Woo.
We might be getting a little silly here. For those who are listening, we recorded this very, very late. It
Oh
is
yeah,
late
no,
night.
we definitely did, but it was
Oh, I
oh, that
love
was
it.
awesome. It was fun.
What a
Uh,
blast.
it was really great. I had fun doing this, guys. This was really, really fun. I like the debate aspect of this. Beats doing it by yourself, honestly. Um, but
Absolutely.
yeah, I don't know. What you guys think? Yeah, I mean, I loved our list. I loved every aspect of it. Uh, this was fun. I really enjoyed it, and I want to thank you guys so much for joining me on doing the research, the countdowns. I had a blast.
Well,
What about you?
me and Al are of the same ilk in terms of this kind of like nerdy stuff to get into and do. We
No doubt.
actually like it.
Right there
Yeah.
with you, brother. You know I'm right there with you, Craig. And yeah, I really appreciate you asking about this, Jordan, because I mean I wasn't going to sit around this last week without you asking to do this podcast and make a list of the top 10 shortstops. But boy, was it fun to do when I got down to doing it, man. And it was cool because we all brought you know, we landed in the same zone by the time we got to our top 3 or 4, but we were really brought some different things, some guys that should be on the list that can't be on everybody's top 10. So I thought it was really cool. All three of us combined for some really cool stuff.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I want to thank you guys once again joining me. I mean, I'm gonna ask you right now. Would you guys uh, probably, maybe when the postseason ends, because I know we got to do some postseason baseball and watch that. Would you guys be down doing third baseman?
Count me in.
Yes, 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 yes.
All right. Well, we'll do that, but we'll do our third baseman in the near future. But before I go, I do want to promote your guys' podcast. So, Al, do you want to go first and promote yours?
Oh, thank you, sir. So I have the comedy podcast with my buddy Joel Richardson, on YouTube under Soul Joel TV, and it's called Bring 'Em Out Comedy Podcast. And then Craig can tell you about the one we do together and his other one that I love very much and highly endorse.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, going through the NFL season on First Recap Podcast. Two podcasts a week, one previewing the week before, or I'm sorry, one reviewing the week before, and one previewing the week coming up. Two separate podcasts, and we go over every game, every team. So no matter who you like, we're going to mention your team for sure, and we hold ourselves accountable. We say what we predicted, what we got wrong, what we got right, and it's a lot of fun. That's what we do over there on Perks Recap Podcast and over on Perks Recap on YouTube. Of course, I do the music reactions, and I'm on a schedule now of about every other day, all week long, just every other day consistently is about what I'm getting to right now for those. Sometimes it fluctuates, but for the most part, that's where we are. And I react to a lot of different stuff. So hopefully you guys can check that out too.
Best in the business.
100%. I agree. Well, once again, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This was a lot of fun. Can't wait to do this with third baseman because we know there's been a hell of a lot of great third basemen throughout the years. So this list might be a little bit tougher than shortstop. Um,
Yeah, I'd have to do a lot of research on it, but that's fine.
Oh, I can't wait to dig in. I can't wait to dig in. I'm from Philly, so I know one guy that's going to be on my list.
He
oh,
might be my number
100%.
one.
It might be as well for me.
I can't wait. This is going to be really fun. You already got the wheels turning, Jordan, and thank you again for having me on. This was great.
No
Yes,
problem,
for
Al. I
sure. Thank you,
appreciate.
Jordan.
No problem, guys. I appreciate you join me on this one. And that's going to do it for the baseline. And we will see you all in the next one.